'Cause I know we can make it. Yes, we can make it if we try. Keep on trying.
Hey beautiful, welcome to Dr. Sarah's Cafe. This is your Tuesday tarot reading where I unpack the flavor of the week that I introduced in Sunday's weekly refill. So if you haven't seen that refill yet, I will link to it in the description box below. Don't worry, this reading can still resonate and have a message for you even if you haven't watched that one yet. This is a timeless reading, so even though I post them every Tuesday, they could speak to situations that play out for weeks, months, even years to come. And whenever you watch, whether it's this week or a year from now, if the message seems to resonate with you, if you're drawn to watch, then it's for you at that time. Also, this is for everyone. It's a general collective reading for all zodiac signs, anyone who feels called to click on the video. And so that means it won't resonate for everyone, or not everything in the video will resonate for everyone. So take the parts of the message that do resonate and leave what doesn't. Also keep in mind that something might not resonate in the moment, but might still apply to something in the future, right? So keep notes on what you hear and just see if things start to come up for you in the days, weeks, months, and ahead. All right, so I've shuffled the deck a little bit beforehand. I'll do a couple more shuffles now. And we'll unpack the flavor of the week, which was deep and wide. I highly recommend watching this week's refill because it was so fun for me to make it. I had so much fun making it. It was really, I just geeked out. I was such a nerd when it came to the weekly refill. So I'm excited to see what the tarot message is to go along with that. What more can you tell us for deep and wide, the collective flavor of the week? What messages do you have for the collective of lovely souls who are watching? Deep and wide, the flavor of the week for deep and wide, the lovely collective of souls who are watching. Additional messages and insights can you provide for us there? And I am still using the Golden Black Cat Tarot. All right, we have if you watched the weekly refill, you know why I'm laughing, because this was the tarot card that we got for this week in the weekly refill, the Hanged Cat. I'm going to read from the guidebook. Give me just a second. Okay, so the Hanged Cat, I mentioned that this guidebook is unique. I haven't really seen many other guidebooks quite like it. I like the way the author organizes it and how she explains things. So for the Hanged Cat, this is Helena de Almeida, the Golden Black Cat Tarot. And there's her name there. So for the Hanged Cat, she says, the strengths: wisdom to come out of contrasting and contradictory ideas; opportunities, the opportunity to improve life; weaknesses, not accepting the loss of some things to improve life; threats, staying stagnant in life and bored; and message, time to stop and observe everything around you. Do not think that your current situation is like this because of others. You are responsible for your life. Make new plans and start over. So to summarize, for those who haven't seen the weekly refill, the flavor of the week of deep and wide had a lot to do with the contracting and the expanding of our minds. So zooming in and zooming out, the microscope and the telescope, the deep, the wide, the big, the small, the macro, the micro, the macro. And that tension between those two polarities, those two dualities, being a liminal space where we can have some enlightenment, where we can gather wisdom and insights, downloads, having spiritual awakenings because of that juxtaposition of that dual perspective. Okay. And the Hanged Cat, I also said this in the refill, is on a practical level, it is a moment where things are not moving. It's a moment of stillness. And what I'm getting is that calm before the storm, almost like when you are like hyper present, like in the TV show The Flash, or like speedsters in general. For those of you who are into superheroes and the comics and things like that, it's like when they are in a moment of realization, everything slows down around them. Nothing is moving. And they're able to look around and study things and really see from a new perspective. The hanged cat also comes to a fork in the road, and he decides to turn himself upside down to see the world differently. So it's literally taking on a new perspective. So you've been approaching the world right side up. The hanged man turns their world upside down and says, hey, consider it from the other side of the coin, right? It literally flips your perspective over. And that's that Jupiter opposing Mercury in a mutual reception in Gemini and Sagittarius. It's the Sun in Scorpio trining Neptune in Pisces, and it's the Sun moving from Scorpio into Sagittarius. All those things came to bear on this flavor of the week. The Three of Wands is also about expanding your perception. It's technically an Aries card, but it's very Sagittarius-like to me because it is about the distant horizons. Sagittarius energy deals a lot with foreign lands, foreign relations, so to speak, because it's about the far and the wide, also the higher level of consciousness. So expanding your mind, getting outside of the status quo, your usual local environment, and trying something further afield, okay? Something farther out from what you've already known. So practically for us this week, we might not see a lot of progress on the surface, but underneath or behind the scenes, there's massive expansion and massive growth in our perspective and our wisdom and our knowledge, okay? What additional details can you give us for this flavor of the week? Deep and wide. This deck is heavy. The cards are larger than most, and the material is like very thick. So overall, it makes the deck like super heavy. But it's a beautiful deck. I'm really enjoying it. I bought it in Costa Rica. I try to buy a tarot deck whenever I go to a different country or a different city or state. So I bought this one in, was it Costa Rica or Brazil? I think I bought it in Costa Rica. I might have bought it in Brazil, though. I should know. I had it when I was in LA. Maybe I bought it in Los Angeles. I can't remember. Okay, anyway. What's the additional messages, additional details do you have? Deep and wide. The Hierophant. Ooh, this is getting good. I'm also in this moment, me reflecting on my travels has a lot to do with that Sagittarius energy. For some of you, like, it wasn't a coincidence that I was drawn to talk about buying decks in different places, because that is very much a part of the expanding your horizons, going outside of your local environment, what you've already known, your existing belief systems, meeting people in foreign places or meeting foreign people in familiar places. All of that is relevant, right? And so even that reflection I had about the deck and where I got it, I think is a just confirmation for some of you that maybe part of what you're embarking on, it does include like literal foreignness, literal foreign travel, again, foreign brands, companies, international experiences, or just things away from home. Because I did not buy this deck when I was at home. I was away. And so that's like, pay attention to what you pick up on when you're away from home, when you're not in your usual environment. You might find a tool or a resource or some information or knowledge that is supportive or helpful in some way. Yeah, I think that's a big part of what they're saying, is that it's when you are in a different place, talking to a different person than you normally talk to, going to a new store that you've never been to, taking a new route home from work, something out of your ordinary, something away from your routine, away from your home, away from the people you already know, is going to give you a tool, a resource, some knowledge, information, insight, something valuable or a gift that you'll be able to pick up and keep with you for your journey ahead. The card that fell out is the Hierophant. I was noticing this card earlier when I was doing the first reading for today. It just wanted to be seen when I was shuffling and preparing the deck. And what really stood out to me when I saw it was the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra. What I've noticed in my research of these things, I've been researching them a lot more. I've been drawn to their symbolism, the imagery of these respective eyes. And what I noticed is that some people use them interchangeably. And so some people will draw the Eye of Ra and call it the Eye of Horus and vice versa. Okay, and what it's representing, because the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, when they're next to each other, they're the left eye and the right eye. Whew. This feels like a significant download. They're the left eye and the right eye. So it's like seeing, that's the different perspective, right? So it's like the Eye of Ra is one eye and it gives you one perspective, and the Eye of Horus is another eye and it gives you a different perspective. So it's like you're literally seeing through a different set of eyes, or a different eye, looking with one eye versus looking with the other eye. And the vision is different somehow. Okay, now the Eye of Horus in particular is a protective eye. Well, they're both protective. The Eye of Horus is also very healing. And again, I'm not an Egyptologist or anything, but it just so happens I've been doing more research on the specific symbolism recently. So not looking into ancient Egypt, but just specifically I've been drawn to the eyes of Horus and Ra, respectively. Yeah, and the Eye of Horus, which is what I'm mainly getting from this. And I wonder if she says it in the guidebook. I wonder if she names it there or not. She doesn't name it, but I want to read what she does say about the Hierophant. She says, good teacher, spiritual guide, guru, or mediator. Accept changes that will happen to improve your life, or you might have difficulty adapting to others. And a threat is remaining in the past and not living in the present day. And then the message is call your spiritual guide and accept their knowledge to improve your life. Open mind will be necessary at this moment. An open mind will be necessary at this moment. This is right on par with the flavor of the week. That contrasting perspective, being willing, having an open mind, being willing to see the situation from the opposite perspective, being willing to consider the world from a different perspective than the one you've always known. That's that mutual reception with Gemini, Sagittarius, Jupiter, Mercury. It is the Sun, Scorpio, trine Neptune and Pisces, and it is the Sun moving from Scorpio into Sagittarius. All those things speak to needing to have an open mind in order to consider a new perspective, a new version, seeing yourself, your life, the world, society from insights, facts, perspectives, point of views that seem even contradictory to your own, that seem to be in complete contrast to your own perspective. There's wisdom in that tension. There's wisdom in the gap between your viewpoint and someone else's. Okay. Also, aside from that, right? What I was getting from the Hierophant is belief systems. And so some of you could be questioning or calling into question or better understanding your belief systems, like what you believe, what you are committed to, like the institutions of your faith. The Hierophant is also like institutions in society, like larger institutions. It could be churches, banks, institutions of higher learning. So all of that coming down are being reconsidered. And in some cases being reinforced. Okay, so reconsidering and reinforcing different beliefs, philosophies of life. maybe even getting a new mentor or a new teacher, starting on a new path of faith. The Hierophant is also your faith card. And so maybe your faith is evolving because you're being exposed to so many new perspectives and new ideas, and you just can't stay the same. It's like Malcolm X when he did his journey in the Middle East, when he went to the Mecca. He could not stay the same. That experience of traveling and going abroad and getting that up close perspective in the actual land that, was the center of this faith that he had, changed his faith. It changed his belief. It changed his philosophy on so many things about that religion that he had only observed from one limited perspective. And so when he was exposed to a broader, different, foreign perspective of that same religion, he could no longer continue practicing that religion in the same way. His philosophy on life and society changed because he had that radically alternative experience and exposure to a different set of teachings, a different way of being Muslim, right? A different way of practicing Islam than what he had been taught stateside, like in the States, in the group, in the community that introduced it to him. Bottom of the deck, we have the Ten of Swords, which also indicates an ending. And the swords is mindset, mentality. And so many of us might have exposure to something that's outside of the norm for us, that seems foreign to us, whether it's like foreign in the sense that it's from a different country or just foreign in the sense that we've never been exposed to it before. And it's going to have us like kill off or like sever a mentality or a mindset that was counterproductive, maybe even toxic or harmful. Okay. Let's keep going. I'm only going to do one more because we're already at 17 minutes. Wow. Okay. And I do want to clarify. So let's get one more pull for deep and wide. Although I could just keep reading. I could just keep pulling cards all day. I love pulling cards. It's so interesting to me. Okay. What else do you have for this message of deep and wide? The Page of Wands. I love it. The Page of Wands. The Three of Cups at the bottom of the deck. With the Three of Cups at the bottom of the deck, I said last week, the Three of Cups has been coming up a lot in these Tuesday readings. Like a disproportionate amount of weeks since I started doing the Tuesday tarot, we've had the Three of Cups. So for a lot of us, this is a change in our community, a change in our social network. And so being exposed to a different group of people is part of this process for us. We're being exposed to a different group of people, and maybe a group of people that we once judged. Maybe being introduced to and finding community with a group of people that we thought we had nothing in common with. So much there. The Page of Wands is the card of the youthful, curious explorer, right? It's like the kid who takes their magnifying glass into the woods and just wants to go in the woods and explore. So this is that energy of curious exploration and wanting to know what else is out there, right? And you're filled with like joie de vivre and wanderlust, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like the world is so interesting. There's so much to see in the world, and what's out there, what else is there to know? The Page of Wands is also the herald. It heralds something new and different. And I also see the Page of Wands as like the publishing. So you could be writing something that involves new ideas, that involves or encompasses new perspectives. Maybe what you're exposed to changes your creative output. It changes the things you talk about. It changes the things you post about on social media. It changes the things you write in your blog or as part of your manuscript, or like how you talk to clients, how you run your business, the things you talk about at the dinner table. So like even your messaging starts to change, even the way, like what you broadcast out to the world, whether you have a podcast or you just make a Facebook post about your personal updates in life. And it could be, there's multiple layers happening there. It is your own curiosity for those things. It is your creation of new, different conversations and content. And it's also you receiving news, you getting news and information from far away. So maybe you start following a new podcast or a new Threads account from someone that a couple of years ago you wouldn't think that you would find their stuff interesting, or you didn't see any commonalities or connections with people like that. And all of a sudden, like, you're going down the rabbit hole of their vlogs and you're binging their podcast episodes, and it's just filling you with such new insights that changes your faith and your belief and your philosophy on life from the inside out. And not just like changing it, but evolving it to be more reflective of the more evolved version of yourself. Okay? I like it. I like it for us as a collective. Let's look at this hanged cat. Please give us additional clarification for the hanged cat. Additional clarification for this hanged cat. All right. Oh, it fell on top of the Page of Wands. It is the Two of Cups. The Two of Cups is the relationship card. I'm going to find it in the traditional deck, traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck, just so you know what I'm talking about when I say the relationship card. But for some of you, this is going to be an actual person who changes your perspective. An actual person. It could be a foreigner, right? So very basic level of interpretation. You meet a foreigner. This is the hanged man as well. You meet a foreigner who introduces you to new ideas, right? Like that could be it. Like they introduce you to a new language. It could also be, if they're not like actually foreign to you, as in they're from a different country, then they just have a radically different point of view. They have a radically different philosophy. Maybe they do belong to a different religion. Maybe they're a different background in some way. That could play out in so many ways. But it's that difference that they have with you that provides the opportunity for learning and growth and evolution. And there's something about this person where what I'm getting with this hanged man, Two of Cups energy, is that there's something about this person and your connection to them, or your potential connection to them, where it's not immediate. But actually it could be immediate, I think, is what just came through. It's like it could be a teacher, a mentor, a friend, a neighbor, a colleague, a lover, a long lost relative. They have a very spiritual nature to them, and they do seem very wise to you. So this is the same version of these cards. Two of Cups, hanged man, Two of Cups, hanged man. So you see the depictions here. This is why the imagery is important, because it informs the interpretation, right? So I'm always, even when I'm using a different deck, I'm always referring to this traditional imagery as well to inform how I interpret cards. So you see here the Two of Cups, two people bringing a cup to each other, and they're meeting in the middle. They're saying, I have a cup, you have a cup, let's come together and share our cups. So it's like this cup is spiritual content. This cup is wisdom. This cup is insight. This cup is life experience. So all that's in your cup you bring it to the other person and vice versa. All your life experiences, all the things you've been taught, all the knowledge you have, all of your stories, right? It's like your cup is so full of content from the life that you have lived and the life that they have lived. And you come and you drink from each other's cup, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much for sharing that stuff from your cup that I would not have known or that I did not have experience with. And it really wakens you up. It's awakening. This is a very spiritual, could be soulmates, to be honest, with this level of spirituality coming through. And with the Hierophant card next to this, there's something about your traditions being different. You come from different traditions. It's like their traditional background is different from your traditional background, but there's a strength in that, right? Like that's where the magic happens, is in that distinction between the tradition that they were raised in versus the tradition that you were raised in. The Hierophant card is also a card of commitment and marriage. And I didn't say it at first because I wasn't thinking about it, but now that the Two of Cups is here, that is literally on the table, as the cards are here as well. And I'm getting, so obviously it could be like an actual marriage, like a legal union between two people who have romantic feelings for each other, right? Like the more typical idea of marriage. But it could also be like a marriage of ideas. So in business, this would be like a beautiful marriage of the sort of intellectual, mathy person and the marketing, branding spokesperson, right? Like it's a beautiful marriage of two different approaches to business, two different skill sets, two different personality types, right? It comes together in this union, and they fortify each other and they make something like greater than themselves. And it's because they are so different that the union they create, the business they create, the artwork that they create, or the marriage that they create is so potent, so powerful. Who am I reading for this week? Okay, let's look at this Hierophant. This Hierophant, please tell us more about the Hierophant card as it pertains to deep and wide for the week ahead. Knight of Pentacles. I like the Knight of Pentacles. We have the Knave of Wands again. So that's the Page of Wands twice. Page of Wands twice. So there's going to be some communication. There's going to be messages, conversations. This could be, in all honesty, and take this just as like illustrative of the energies. This may not literally happen for most of the people watching, but this is almost like I mentioned, you start following that new podcast person or that new social media person, and they are very different from you. They come from a different tradition than you do, different culture, etc. And you interact, and you actually like, it becomes like a two-way conversation. Like they start to learn as much from you. So like you start commenting on their YouTube videos, or you start commenting on their posts, and like now, like in the exchange of ideas, in the exchange of communication and messages, it's like both of you are evolving and leveling up your wisdom and your life philosophy, right? And expanding your mind, right? Being able to have the deep conversation with this person where you go really deep into one topic, but also being able to have that wide, broad, expansive conversation with them where you can talk about anything with this person. And the Knight of Pentacles is like doubly committed. And it's like this philosophy, this commitment, it happens, it grows slowly and organically, and it's something that you can rely on. The Knight of Pentacles is the most reliable knight, even though he is the slowest knight. He is the most assured, confident, like ready. I'm going to get there. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. And so there's something about this commitment, this marriage, this philosophy, this belief, this institutional evolution that is a slow and steady process. And it's paced. It's like well paced. And you might meet this person while traveling. Because I mentioned the travel aspect, and the nights can be travel. They can be far travel, local travel, commutes, road trips. The Knight of Pentacles is likely like a long road trip, which makes sense because we're talking about like things that are outside of your local environment, right? Like going further afield than what you're used to. I like this. I really want to like know if you feel like leaving a comment. If this is like your story, let me know. Okay, let's look at the Page of Wands and see if we can wrap up or close out. Like, what does this all amount to? It's kind of what I want to know. Excuse me. Please clarify the Page of Wands. Almost wanted to come out. Page of Wands, please. Eight of Wands, bottom of the deck. That is the communication from afar. So like emails, texts, phone calls from people that you don't talk to in person. We have the Emperor at the bottom of the deck. So someone with a lot of authority, someone who's also very wise. They could be an educator themselves, but they just have a lot of personal authority. Like they're really self-possessed and self-assured. It's giving me like Hierophant and Knight of Pentacles energy as well. Like they're just really grounded, really stable, and really masculine too. So depending on who you are, you might not initially know how to interact with this person. Like you might not initially know what to make of them because it is so different from what you've had before. But it's a very elevated conversation. It's communication and conversation, dialogue that is very mature and yet grounded, and also like wise and like just teaching you so much, but also like still very accessible. The card that fell out was the Ace of Pentacles. So of course this could be a financial new beginning. What I really get is that this new ideal that's taking place, the new philosophy, the new belief, the new connection, the new union, the new marriage that's coming together. So like you partnering with someone or starting something with another person, it's just deeply rooted. The Ace of Pentacles, it's just such a solid seed from which to grow and flourish. It's hard to explain like what I really feel. So I'm just gonna let some words come through me here. So it's like, this is the story of how it all begins. This is the story of how it all begins. And yeah, it's just a feeling, and I'm not getting words for it at the moment. So I'll just let you look at this vibrational image. Sorry. It's not letting me go. And yet, I don't know what more to say about it. Whew, but it just feels really heavy, like really consequential, like the weight of this pentacle. Like what's striking me is like the weight and the solidity of this pentacle. So what I was saying initially with this card is that it's the root of it, the seed of this new adventure. I just keep getting like chills. I'm sorry. The seed of this new adventure is like, okay. I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm gonna trust. I'm gonna release the message now. Again, if you haven't seen the weekly refill for this tarot reading, I'm gonna link to it in this caption below. And I hope that this has helped you in some way to refill your spiritual cup. And this is a reading I really want you to check back in with me on. Leave a comment if this resonated, because I'm super curious. It's like really, really juicy. And that's the energy I got with the weekly refill as well. That like it had a juiciness to it, you know. I almost want to make it into a movie and get some popcorn. All right. I hope to see you in another video. Please take care. Take care, my dears. And I hope to see you in another video.
'Cause I know we can make it. Yes, we can make it if we try. Keep on trying.